Okay, so I thought I'd go over another feature of the SD90 in preferences called Style Player, where you have the choice of two options. You can set Style Player to be single, or you could set Style Player to be mix. And essentially what these options do, let me show you where they are. We're talking about this particular option right here. So as you can see, you have Style Player single and you have Style Player mix. So remember that there are essentially two players or two independent engines that are on the SD90 that are capable of playing two different things actually simultaneously. So when we have the style player set to single, you can either use the player function and you can play an MP3 or WAV or a multimedia file, or you can use the style side of the SD90 and play a style. But you can't do both when it's set to single. So single allows what's called synchronous operations. So it's either one or the other, and when one starts, the other one stops. Let me sort of demonstrate this feature and how it works. So with it set to single, I can go over here and I can play a MIDI file in this case, and you can hear that, right? And then if I go over to the style side and I start to play a style, you'll notice that the MIDI file stops when the style starts. So MIDI file has stopped, the style starts. Same thing, if I go back over to the player and I start the MIDI file again, the style engine will stop. Okay, so and also there's very distinct menus. The menus for the player, are basically what you see there, right? These are the player menus, and the style menu is the style menu. Now, when we go to mixed mode, some things change. So now what happens is, in mixed mode, we have the ability now to play both of them simultaneously. And of course, you have two volume buttons over here. Volume sliders. So you have the style slider and you have the player slider. So each of those can control the volume of both the player and the style independently. So let's go back to player, and I will go ahead and start that. Then we'll go back to style. Now I'm going to start the style. Now this time when I start that style, you can hear them both play. And I'll raise the volume and lower them of each so you can hear. So there's the player, right, and here's the style. Okay, and then when you press the style button, when you press the player button, what you'll see is now the player menu. Let me stop. I can't stop that without telling you. I can lower the volume. So what you'll see now is that the media files that would normally be in the player menu, where you would have that, drummery style and other things on the bottom, now appears as a window within the style frame itself, right? So that allows you to easily access something and also tell you that, hey, you're in mixed mode. So the way that you can make that distinction is if I press the style button, you'll see that I'm back just to the style. If I press the player button, I'm at the player mode, but I get to be able to pick what media file I want to play. But this blinking style light tells me that I'm in mixed mode and that I can play a style also together. So if I hit that, I go back to the style menu. Actually, the blinking light. Let me just go back a second. Okay. So the blinking light, whether it's on the player or on the style, tells you that there's something that's playing on the other half of the unit, right? So you'll see I have nothing playing right now. Okay. So now if I play the MIDI file, okay, when I go to the style side, you'll see the player light is blinking. So that tells me there's something that's active over there that's playing, right? And the inverse happens if I go to the player, right? After I start a style, so let me start up a style. So now I have a style playing. If I press the player 1 button, the style light begins to blink. So as you can see, it creates a little bit of confusion. You have to know where you're at and sort of what's happening. Um, and if I hit this, if I'm looking at the player and I want to go back to the conventional media menu, let me lower these volumes again, then what you can do is press the style button once to get to the style side, and then instead of pressing player, because if you press player, it's going to basically give you the media files in the style menu. Let me show you again. See that? Okay. So if you press style again, then it'll give you the conventional menu, as you can see here at the bottom with the drum restyle playlist, my folder marker, and so on. So that's sort of how it works. Again, remember that the volume of the two are controlled by the volumes here. So see that? Okay. So the practical use of it is limited, of course, because you would have to be able to have styles that you could synchronize with your MIDI files or MP3s or whatever you're using. But it does provide an ability for you to be able to do them both should you want to, or if you want to go back and forth quickly, and you could fade in and fade out without having to worry about one starting and one stopping.